guys a little breakdown and a little bit of insight about the main question that has been pondering me for a minute, and probably many of you. Saving money. What is it about saving money? Why is it so hard in today's economy? What makes it so difficult, and why is it getting progressively difficult by the minute? And in today's economy, it's kind of hard to really set yourself on this type of question because of the obvious, the standards and complications that come with outside forces, maybe even the pressures of outside forces. How can you really bring yourself up to the standard without understanding the knowledge behind it? And this has been a very, very, very big question. I want you to picture yourself really breaking it down. You run into a jam, and suddenly you don't know how to get out of it. At the same time, not wanting to reach out and touch any outside forces because of the fears of being judged, etc. And a lot of these fears are more psychological, but how can we pull out of that? And it all comes down to strategy. One of the main drives that even puts you in that situation in the first place, strategic planning. And so, how to save money? Well, I provided a little visual presentation that we can just step right into. And one of the first things that I want to touch on, which I mentioned earlier, is strategic planning. So, what is planning? It can start off by little things. When you think of planning, you want to think of a standard that you hold yourself, because in the end, saving money all goes down to accountability. What type of shoes can you put yourself in now that can push you to the long-term goal? Little stuff could be, as listed below, jars, and envelopes, and bank savings route. Any other route that can put you in a position to where you're stepping forward, using your resources to your complete advantage because you have them. And knowledge is power. And so you also may be asking yourself, well, statistically, what does it look like for everybody else? Now, granted, you're not alone. A lot of people are thinking that whenever you do hit a financial jam, there's almost like a pool of you not being able to get out. And that is far from the truth. In fact, it is a typical economy thing. When you look at the statistics about, on average, how are Americans actually saving their money? And the majority of them, as you can see, have less than $1,000 in their bank account. It's pretty crazy, right? So why is it so hard for Americans to save money? And this can be a lot of things. It all goes down to the typicals: inflation, housing complications, budgeting, balancing your needs and wants, both psychological and outside forces that you simply cannot control. And according to an article written by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it was said that over the year ended June 2023, consumer prices increased 3.0% after increasing 4.0%. Diving into that, you're thinking yearly and almost in a way, monthly, that these changes are constantly happening. Outside forces that sometimes we even feel like we can't control. And at this point, it all goes back to knowledge and accountability. How, as we Americans, can pull ourselves out of this statistical pool that kind of drives us back a little bit. And it all comes down with knowledge. Knowledge about our spending breakdowns and how can we pull out of that. And it's understanding about the breakdowns of our pockets and what's really going on with them. What are we actually doing on our day-by-day that we either don't recognize or are painfully choosing? And this is whenever we get into the average spending account. And as you're looking at this, you can see that the majority is, once again, outside forces, and even things that we're not really taking into account with our needs. As you can see, the majority of pools are coming from taxes, both federal and state. And the smallest numbers, or one of them at least, is our clothing and accessories. You would think that our needs would be above, but they're not. So you may be then asking yourself, okay, I'm interested. What other strings of income can I pull to get myself out of this situation? Accountability and knowledge. You could do residual incomes, maybe even vending machines, maybe even some little side hustles, just to get your mind flowing with other strings of income, just so that you will not be scared about leaning back on one little thing. Residual income is basically whenever you rent into something and pull yourself out of it. Flipping houses, learning new things, finding new ways to strategically get yourself out of situations. And at this time, we want to hold ourselves accountable, reach down, and not be afraid of the bigger picture, which is outside forces. Knowledge is power, and the sooner we realize that, the better we move forward. Thank you for your time.